All right, Tracy, we are live. So good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Nerrell. I help professionals who are ambitious about their careers create their next advancement opportunity. And this is my weekly Facebook Live. Today is show number 77. The title of this episode is What's Behind Your Mask? And I want to welcome to our show today, Tracy Oswald. Tracy, how are you?
I am so good, John. So happy to be here. And I want to say 77 shows. That's a lot of shows. Yeah.
A year's worth of work. So thanks for that.
Yeah, of course.
So Tracy and I have been talking a little bit before the show today, and we've just been loving on each other because we've known each other now for almost 3 years. We actually went to coach training school together with IPEC, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. And I said to her that I had her tagged in my content planner because I wanted her on this episode specifically because she does so much work around the masks that we wear and how they help us and how they hinder us from really being and living our true, authentic lives. And so we're just going to have a good time and a good conversation today.
Yes, I'm counting on it.
Absolutely. So a little background about Tracy. So Tracy is currently the Vice President for Content and Experiential Marketing for USA Today Network and Local IQ. And she is also the host of 2 podcasts. So she co-hosts the Growth Lab show, which is brought to you by Local IQ with her co-host Andre Archambault. And she just recently launched her own podcast, Courageous, Successful, and Happy. And they're both awesome podcasts. So you definitely want to go and check them out. So I know we're going to talk a little bit more about those, but
Sure.
They're great podcasts. You are doing some amazing work, Tracy.
Thank you. Thanks. You know, it's funny. I think, I wouldn't be doing any of this work if, number one, I hadn't gone to IPEC coaching, right? And number two, if we dial all the way back to where this all started for me, it was about me physically putting on a mask. And that's how I realized I had a mask on all the time. Yeah.
So let's just jump right into this. Okay. So,
yes.
So let's just go. So tell us, for you, like, why do we wear masks in the first place?
Yeah. So it's funny. Masks are, people say, oh, this person has a mask on, or it's such a, it's a false front. And I think masks get a lot of hate, right? But I think masks can sometimes be useful, right? So there's a way of being that we have where if you're wearing a mask that you don't know that you have on, so it's this kind of, you're cutting yourself off from the world and what's possible for you because you have certain beliefs about yourself and the world that might or might not be true, but that are keeping you small. And you're wearing this mask as a barrier between you and what's possible for you. That's not a helpful mask. And I do want us to talk about that because I think that's what holds so many of us back, right? But there's ways that we can put on masks and trade out masks in a good way. And when I think of masks, think of like an emotional set point, right? Sometimes an angry mask, when you're mad about something, that's not always a bad thing. You can get stuff done from a place of anger, right? Sure. It's better than being depressed and really worried about things. When you're angry about something, sometimes that sparks you to take action. So I liken it to like what your emotional set point is and how you can use that. You can use that mask to really get things done in the world for yourself and for other people. So I don't think, masks aren't always bad. I play with my clients around what kind of mask do you want to put on today, if any, to get something done. And it helps them and it helps people be really mindful about their intentions for the day and being intentional.
That's such a good point, right? Because I think, like you said, sometimes we have a tendency to think that the masks are always bad, quote unquote, but they can serve us pretty intentionally when we need to.
Yes.
So give us an example of when somebody might need to put a mask on in the workplace to serve them a little bit better.
Yeah. So let's take asking for something, asking for what you want, right? Whether it's a raise, whether it's you want an office, whether you want a new title, there's a lot of feelings that come with that, right? Fear. And I'm sure you've talked to, because this is what the space that you play in, John, right? Helping people create their next advancement opportunity. So this likely comes up for you a lot. People want to ask for something bigger, more responsibility, promotion, what have you. And there's a way we've been conditioned to not ask for things, right? To kind of just keep our head down, keep our nose to the grindstone. And if we do good work, then the right thing's going to happen for us. But we know that that's not always true. There are times in our careers at work where we have to stand up for ourselves in a way that makes us feel really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And you might have to put on a courage mask, right? A courage mask, or if you want to call it a confidence mask, or a mask of believing that the conversation that you're about to have is going to have the outcome that you want, so that you can come from a place of really co-creating that with the person that you're asking. So and I talk a lot about courage with my clients because I think courage is just, people make a big deal about courage, but all courage is the bridge from self-doubt to self-confidence. That's all courage is, right? Like, it's not this whole big thing. It's just a bridge that's going to help you to get from doubting yourself to feeling good about yourself. So the courage mask really could come into play at work when you want to ask for something and you feel really nervous and tentative about it.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's such a good point. I love what you said too about how courage is that bridge between self-doubt to self-confidence.
Yeah.
You're right. We sometimes do make a really big deal about it when in sense it is just about, we talk so much in both of our works with our clients, right? Is how do you want to show up?
That's right.
How do you want to show up energetically and professionally to make the impact you want to make?
Right.
What's that look like for you?
Yeah. Another way I think masks come out at work is what I do a lot of presenting all over the country for the USA Today Network's Local IQ, and I do client events and I speak and I teach, and I definitely put my kind of education entertainer mask on, right? It's a different, like, I'm like, okay, I'm going out on stage, I have to really bring it. So I put that mask on of, I am here to bring you an experience that you're going to really remember and go back to your businesses and take action from. And I want to engage with them. So it has to be this mask that imparts all of that. And it's definitely different from the mask I might put on or wear if I'm doing like a team meeting or just a meeting with coworkers about a project or a meeting with a client. It's totally different, right? So I think it's understanding what you want to accomplish in the next segment or the next couple of hours or the next event, and deciding to be intentional about the outcome you want so that you can call up ways for you to show up, right? And put the right mask on to show up in the way you want to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the flip side then for a second. So how do masks hurt us, quote unquote? Yeah.
So can I share my story a little bit?
Please.
Okay. So back in 2011, 2012, I was working in Manhattan for a digital marketing company. I was running the sales team, and I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know it, but I had this huge mask on around. I thought that work, the way I had to be at work, was very different than the way I was at home, and I was trying to keep how I was showing up very different. Like at home, I was super loving and bubbly and really vulnerable and transparent. And I thought I had to be like this badass, like warrior, right? Because working in the city selling stuff is hard, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have 2 seconds to make an impression. And I led a huge team of people. And I've had this very tough guy kind of mask on. And when you wear a mask for 12 hours a day that you're not aware that you have on, let me tell you the havoc that wreaks in your life, because it bleeds over into all of the relationships that you have, whether it's at work or at home. And just by chance, I was looking, we did a lot of fun things working in Manhattan. You have like the world is literally your oyster when it comes to really cool stuff to do. So I was looking for a really cool thing to do for some of my friends at work, and I came upon this place called Sleep No More. And you talked a little bit about it in your email I saw, so thank you. And Sleep No More is immersive theater. And I didn't know anything about immersive theater before I went, but the experience that I had that night, John, it was an August evening, 2012, and it's the reason we are sitting here today, and it's the reason I have my coaching practice and was able to evolve into so many different versions of myself and have the kind of success I have. In Sleep No More, you have to wear a mask the entire time, and you walk around and you experience things with the actors and with other, guests in the show. And in putting on this mask, I found that I was able to connect with the people in the show and the actors in such a vulnerable and transparent and heart-forward way. And it absolutely blew my mind. And it said to me, what it told me was, first, I have to come back to the show because I don't know what just happened, but I needed to experience it again. But also, so much more was possible for me if I would just take off the mask that I had on that was disconnecting me from my vulnerability, from really pushing the boundaries of human connection, which is a lot of the work that I do with the high achieving women that I coach. And it helped me crack open what I believed was possible for me and for how I could show up in the world to help people. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something there that I had to write down. And what you said was, so much more is possible if I just took off the mask.
Yeah. I believe, in what I've come to learn through all of the coaching, training we've been through, and the people that I've coached, and my own personal experience, is that a lot of times we don't realize that we live in this very small world. We think we live in this great big world, but we live in the world that we have created from what we believe to be true, from our beliefs, from our thoughts. And our thoughts really restrict our agency. And what I mean by that is, we believe that we're showing up in the world and we're making decisions, right? We have free agency in the world to make whatever decisions that we want about our lives. And I will say that is absolutely true. However, we restrict our agency and our ability to make decisions that will affect our world at the macro level by choosing to believe things that we've always believed to be true and not questioning our thoughts and our beliefs. That's where we get into trouble. And that's exactly what you help clients do, right? And I help clients do, is really examine the thoughts that you have. Because John, and the people that are watching, I think I see David Deal. I don't know if that's his picture, but I see him on. Hey, David, love you. So I had to do a shout out. So the thoughts that we have create feelings, right? We think a thought, we feel a feeling, and it's a biochemical reaction. Our brain sends neurotransmitters, neuropeptides, and hormones down to every cell in our body when we have a thought, and it causes us to actually physically feel a feeling in our body. From that feeling, we decide, okay, what action am I going to take, right? Or non-action, right? Because a non-action is still an action. And from all of our actions, we get our results. So our thoughts, when you think about it, if you short circuit that, our thoughts really create our results. So when we allow ourselves to continually always believe the same things we've always believed and stay in that default mode, that default loop, right? We severely limit our agency in the world and what's possible. So all of the work that we do as coaches is help people understand what their thoughts are. And if they like their thoughts, great. But understand that your thoughts are creating every result that you've ever gotten.
Right. And so much of the work that we all get to do, and I'll shout out Natalie, because I think Natalie's on.
Hey, girl.
And my friend Billy's on, so it's good to see him too. But what we get to do is we get to hold up a mirror, right?
Yes.
We get to hold up a mirror to our clients and simply say, I want you to take a really hard look at yourself right now and what you're saying and how well is that serving you.
Yeah. And that's not always fun. In fact, it's hardly ever fun. And like I love that you said mirror, because I felt like, the first time I went to Sleep No More, and PS guys, whoever's watching, I've been back to Sleep No More now 36 times. And I've also branched out into lots of other immersive theater to get different experiences. And I take my clients to immersive theater also as a growth mechanism and a springboard to really accelerate growth. But for me, Sleep No More really became my mirror to what I believe to be true about myself. And I experienced this through how I interacted with the actors and with the other guests in the show, the other attendees. And I didn't like what I saw.
Right.
And a matter of fact, it scared the crap out of me that if I continued to believe these feelings, my world was going to stay really small. My connection to people, my understanding of myself, and I would have very, very narrow agency to affect the world in the way I really wanted to affect it, and that is to help people. So I would argue that we keep ourselves really small when we don't continually press and challenge the boundaries of what we believe to be true.
And in that same vein, it's being able to face the emotion, whatever that is, right? So if it's fear, if it's courage, whatever that emotion is behind the reason that mask is on, as you talked about so well about, not being able to restrict our agency.
Totally. And where it gets really hard, I find, with myself and with my clients, about, 2.5 months into the work together, they get really discouraged because, and you guys, for whoever's watching, and John, this, that there are a lot of coaches and, people out there selling these like 3 quick steps to change your life. And, it does not work that way. And right, like, and people get really disenfranchised with working with coaches, or even if you don't want to work with a coach, this is not selling you on coaching, guys, whoever's watching, even doing the work yourself, very valuable. But what happens is, and what people need to understand is that when you try to make a change in yourself, right, I talked about the thoughts sending these neuropeptides, neurotransmitters, and hormones down to the cells in our body to create a feeling. But what the funny thing that happens is we have conditioned ourselves to believe the feelings that we have. Let's say it's feelings of guilt around something, or shame around something, or insecurity or self-doubt. Mm-hmm. We've thought these thoughts for so long, John, that our bodies, the cells in our bodies, think that is homeostasis. So homeostasis is the natural order of the way things happen in your body. And because we've believed these things for so long, our bodies want to keep that feeling. Our bodies don't care that feeling doesn't feel good. They just know that this is how Tracy wants Tracy to feel. Self-doubt around, I'm just making it up, around interaction with other human beings, because that was true for me. And so when we don't, over time, just like with drugs, our bodies get used to a certain level of chemical. And over time, we start to need more feelings of self-doubt. So our cells tell our body, think more feelings of self-doubt, brain, because we don't have enough chemicals down here to keep this self-doubt feeling going. So it takes work to overcome the science. It's not about willpower. It's we have to override science and what's happening in our body. And that's why quick fixes, sometimes people can do this in a snap, right? I've rarely seen it, but it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. But for most of us, right, the regular folks out here, we have to teach ourselves to think new thoughts, to create new hormones and neurotransmitters to override what we've taught our bodies to feel, and then take action from, and then get the results from our entire lives.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so when the body is struggling to overcome the science,
yeah,
the stress from all of that can manifest itself in a variety of different ways.
Right.
And I think we all could look back at that moment in our lives when we decided to take off the mask,
Yes.
right? For whatever reason. You know, you shared such a beautiful story about being at Sleep No More and knowing that you needed to go back because there was a breakthrough for you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for me, it was taking the mask off when I was 26 years old, when I finally admitted to a dear friend of mine at the time that I happened to be gay.
Right.
And I grew up in a very, very staunch religious family, love them to death, but, you know, they weren't exactly accommodating or easygoing when I came out. We had to work through all of that. But, you know, for me, like, it was this whole big thing about taking off the mask.
Yeah.
And I found out that when I was telling people, they were like, John, we know.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Did you just figure this out?
Yeah. I'm like, well, like, did anybody not want to tell me? Like, really? Like, here I was this big monumental breakthrough. I told one of my nearest and dearest friends, and he was like, yeah. And I was like, huh?
So
but I was experiencing such physical manifestations from dealing with the stress of it. And I think for us, you know, whenever we encounter or we work with a client or we see a situation in the workplace, especially if we're in a management or leadership role where we're working with team members pretty closely and we're able to see what that mask is, you know, we're able to hold up that mirror as we were talking about to really get them to take a hard look at their agency and discover, and I help them discover what they want to do about it.
Yeah, I love that you brought this up in connection to helping people at work, because here's what I find, because I'm still entrenched in the corporate world and I love what I do. Yeah. What I believe my job as a leader is to help people understand the feelings they're having about the thoughts around whatever project they're working on or whatever people they're dealing with, and to understand their feelings, to be able to create different thoughts if they need to have different feelings in order to get the work done. And that takes time, and it takes me being really super vulnerable as a leader and sharing my own feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt and feelings of anger and when I'm not happy about how I talk to someone. Or you have to be willing as a leader to understand your people's feelings, because when you, as a leader, when you're just focused on getting your team to do the work and not trusting yourself or not being willing to do the work around how they're feeling about the work, I mean, that's when you don't get the team's buy-in, and you're only operating at this surface level with your team, and they're never going to follow you into the woods, and like I'm picturing like you on the horse, and you like they're never going to follow you into battle. I hate using the word battle, but they're never going to follow you into a new adventure like behind you all the way if you're not having conversations with them about what they're thinking and what they're feeling.
Right. Because in a leadership role, trust is one thing, vulnerability is a different playing field.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So well said. So I just want to invite anybody who's listening, if you want to make a comment, ask a question, go ahead and post it in the box. We've got a little bit more time. You okay taking some questions? I know we
absolutely.
Everyone wants to chime in, kind of thing. So with that, so Tracy, tell us a little bit more, like what's your work specifically like now between all of the podcasting, the coaching, the corporate work and stuff you do, like peel back the curtain for us.
Oh boy. So, it's really funny. It's been the last 2 months have been very much a steep learning curve for me, because launching my own podcast, still doing the work, because the Growth Lab work is, also around live events that we do all over. So I'm traveling a lot. I've got the work that I do, for Local IQ, and I absolutely love that work. And I also have the work that I do with my, high achieving clients. And once I threw my own podcast in the mix, it was like all hell broke loose on my schedule and how I got things done. And there's seasons like in everything. There's seasons, and I'm learning this content and experiential marketing role is also new for me. So it's like all new work with a new team. Hey, why don't I just launch a podcast? that couldn't like really be, you know, too like, but why not? And it's been what I'm thankful for is I've learned so much, not only about my team, about the work, but about me through this process. And I've had to really rearrange how I get things done. And what I can say is if anyone understands or anyone relates to this that's listening or might listen to it later, if you're going through a phase where like, oh my God, like the crap is hitting the fan, I don't know how I'm going to get all this done. Like, it's okay. Nothing has gone wrong. You're actually going in the right direction. If you're having feelings of there's no way I can do all of this, I have to shut some stuff down, I am inadequate, that's just your brain telling you thoughts that aren't true. That's just your brain giving you thoughts. You can choose to believe them or not. But if you're having feelings of inadequacy because you're trying to do more, you're on the right track. Keep going. Keep going. It's okay. Nothing has gone wrong. You're just a human and you're trying to figure it out. And so keep going to figure it out, because I've had to really keep pushing myself, because there was a moment, honestly, you guys, whoever's watching, it was like about a month ago, I was like, I freaking can't do this all anymore. Like something has to give, because I can't do it. But I wasn't used to my new schedule. That's all. And that's okay. It's okay to have feelings and not act on them and sit with those uncomfortable feelings. And you could call it a mask. This is my mask of, I don't know what in the heck I'm doing right now, but I'm going to keep doing it. And it's totally okay.
Yeah, because if we sit with it for a while, we figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah, we figure it out.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So I've got your podcast up there, which is called Courageous, Successful, and Happy. But you got it. I don't want to mess it up, but tell us the tagline that you have for your podcast.
Yeah. So Courageous, Successful, and Happy. It's not a place to get to. It's a place to come from.
Love that.
I know. And
I love that.
And I made the title really, like, I feel like the title is a little bit polarizing, because I think people initially feel like, you know, what the heck is she talking about? Does she think she's so courageous, successful, and happy? Like, and I want people to get a little bit of feelings about it, because I think the world right now, the world is selling. So many people, like I said, are selling, hey, if you buy my course, you'll know how to get really super famous on Instagram, and you'll be this international celebrity, and blah, blah, blah. And we're selling destinations and using emotions to foot the bill. We're selling people on, if you just buy my course, you'll be courageous, you'll be successful, you'll be happy. I'm not saying that you'll be any of this stuff if you listen to my podcast. I am saying, let's have a conversation. Instead of trying to get to courageous, successful, and happy, let's come from that place. And what does that look like? What if we came from a place of being courageous? What does that feel like? What does it look like? What if we came from a place of being happy? And instead of needing outside things to make us happy, what if we figured out ways to become from happy, to create those outside things to serve the world at a much higher level? And that's the kind of conversation I want to have.
Yeah, and I love your podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do. So I can't listen to it in the car because I get too immersed. I call it Tracy time. I have to find like Tracy time else where I can like listen.
So don't crash.
No,
please,
not at all.
Please.
But you know what you talk about though is so applicable across life and career. And if you are an athlete, or if you are a creative, whatever you are, what you talk about is across the spectrum. And it's a message that everybody who is open to it can really lean in and listen to it. Thank you for putting that out there.
Thank you. And I think the important word is open to it, because there are times, and there's feedback that I get. That's how I know I'm onto something. So people are starting to give me feedback. They think I'm crazy. They think I'm nuts. They think I'm like, what was someone just posted on LinkedIn yesterday or this morning? I was talking about, you know, the worst time to try and get a new job is when you're super unhappy in the one you have, because you can't get there from here. You can't get to happy and satisfied from a place of unhappy and unsatisfied. I mean, you're just going to turn around and have the same thing happen again.
Sure.
And someone said it was, I forget, not like evil or something, that I was coming from an evil place. I can't remember, but it was real. And I at first I was like, oh my God. And I was like, it's okay. Not everyone's going to get it. And that's okay too. Right. This is not for everyone.
Right.
Right. And that's fine, because we're all different and we all need different things. So I love that you said, if you're open to it, because I think that's really important.
Absolutely. So, hey, as we start to wrap up, there is one question I always ask my guests, and I would love for you to answer it for us. So that question is this. So what advice would you give to someone who's trying to create their next advancement opportunity?
Okay, I love these impromptu questions. Okay, so I would say, look at the thoughts that you have about yourself and what you believe to be true about the work that you're doing, and where are you not thinking big enough, and what thoughts are keeping you small? What thoughts are keeping you coming from a small place, and where can you go even bigger in what you believe to be true about you, and maybe where you even want to go in your career? Like, what barriers are you putting on yourself? Where are you kind of keeping yourself in a box and keeping yourself small because of what you believe to be true? And just look at that space for a bit.
Right? Hold the mirror, take a look.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tracy. So we're gonna wrap this up, right? So I want to thank you for sharing your time and your expertise with everybody today. So just going back, you can check out her podcasts. So that is the Growth Lab podcast, as well as Courageous, Successful, and Happy. And you can find that on iTunes and Stitcher and all the different platforms and stuff. But you are also known as the High Achievers Coach. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or even to work with you, how would they go about doing that? Yeah, so you can check out my website. It's tracyoswald.com. You can email me at to@tracyoswald.com. And I invite anyone watching now or anyone that watches in the future, connect with me on LinkedIn. That is the only platform I play on, and I play a lot on. So would love to have you as a connection. So hit me up. Yeah, great. All right. Cool. Tracy, I love you. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Absolutely. And you just, I really appreciate all the value you brought today and opening up this conversation. So we'll have to have you back on and touch base again in the near future. That would be fun. Honor to be here, John. Thank you. Thanks. So for everybody listening and watching today, thank you so much. If you liked it, hit the like button, share it with somebody, share it with someone who you think would really benefit from this message today about why we wear our masks and how they help us and how they also hold us back a little bit from playing full out and playing bigger in the space. So thank you again, and I'll see you again next week. I'm going to give you a little bit of teaser. So next week, I'm speaking at a middle school career day. I'm talking about the advantages about being a career coach and what that means. And I'm going to pop on and just share some thoughts with that. So, I mean, talk about not wanting to play small in front of a group of 11 to 14-year-olds. It's going to be a good time. So Tracy, thanks again. Thanks, everybody. I'll see y'all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.